Welcome to the Unconsumed podcast. I'm Lee Corning. I'm here with my good friends Kyle Cummings and Joel Stellner, partners and co-founder in TableauHelp.com and now what is becoming Swar, correct?
Correct.
Okay, great. So thanks for making this work out, guys. I know we've tried to get this on the calendar a couple times, and one of the things that happens when you have a very successful business under in your hands and under your belt is time is a little less available, right?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, you also live in Georgetown, so that's...
Yeah, well, it's a hike. I'm a suburbanite now, man.
Yeah, clearly. But we're glad to be here, so thanks for having us.
Appreciate you coming on.
It was worth the hour drive.
Was it really an hour?
Only because we made a pit stop.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that doesn't count at all. Because I can get downtown with no traffic like 30 minutes, max.
No, it's not bad at all.
No, it's not that bad.
And, I can get to the airport in like 25 now. That 1:30's open, but that's not internet worthy material. So, guys, you gotta help me reconcile things here, because I knew you both at Tableau when we were selling software together. You and I were peers for a time, selling enterprise software in Texas specifically. And then I knew you at a distance because you had worked for Kyle at some point in the organization, and then you had split off and started TableauHelp.com, and so I knew you, liked you, and I was able to and trusted you enough to like send some deals down to your consultancy, right?
Yep.
Not very many, and so I'm not like asking for a favor or asking for you to remember that too fondly, but it was early on, right?
What was your territory again?
I had Enterprise Texas.
Arcobel?
Yes.
Division of H&I, yeah. So
yeah,
I was going to say, the reason why this drive wasn't so bad is because I used to drive up to Temple
for that deal
3 days a week.
Interesting.
They did a big contract.
They're still customers with us. They're still buying.
Maybe I don't know.
So.
We should say.
This is the
I don't know,
internet.
whatever.
It's all good.
I don't know the rules.
Yeah, well, there are no rules, and that's one of the beautiful things about this. So, starting with the end in mind, it's you guys have TableauHelp.com, and it's also being rebranded to Swar, and you're coming out with your own software products. Tell me about what the business does, where it is today. You guys have grown dramatically in the last 2 years. So, where are you right now?
So we are a data services business,
Okay.
a holistic data services business. We happen to be Tableau partners, and we believe Tableau is the best tool on the market for
Right.
90% of the front end that people need to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
So we use that exclusively as our front end tool,
Okay.
with the exception of building custom portals and things like that we do to help user experience. But
Right.
then over time, we started as a very front end shop. Over time, we've built out the team and the skill sets to be full stack, to handle everything on the back end.
Okay, so when you say front end, back end, and people don't know what Tableau is, or they don't know what any of this stuff is, can you just give us some
I'll
details?
explain. So basically, Tableau is for data visualization. So
Right.
it's all on what the viewer is going to see, what somebody's like. They're going to see dashboards that are all charts that kind of interact with each other, and it's all for understanding data, right?
Mm-hmm.
In order to make that happen, the data has to come from somewhere. But oftentimes for businesses, it comes from different places.
Right.
So you have to combine it somewhere. There's
Right.
infrastructure, there's automation that has to happen, then there's data engineering that has to happen
Mm-hmm.
to mess with the data until you can even start to create the Tableau thing. So we started with just the front end thing, just making dashboards, and realized pretty quickly that we're not even going to be able to do what the customer wants until we start reaching back further in the stack to solve problems before it even gets there.
Right. So when you say data, and not, like I'm familiar with the term data, we're talking like not just a spreadsheet.
Data.
Yeah, like data is in like it's this
Everything. Every
massive
time
nebulous term. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when I say when I say data, I think I know what I mean, but other people hear it different. They're like, data is like a spreadsheet that my boss sent me, or like data is the fantasy football scores from last week. It can come in very different sizes, formats, and all these things. But when we're talking about enterprise data that every time someone swipes their card at Walmart,
Yep.
it comes back with what they bought, what time they bought it, the SKU, and all this data piles into billions and billions of rows of data.
Right.
And so that's the type of data you guys handle.
For the most part, yeah.
Right. And it comes in different
data.
sizes.
Yeah, it can be web traffic data, so how many times people went to your website or clicked on something. It can be how many times somebody bought something at your store, because every time you run a thing through the cash register, it's recording that.
Right.
All that kind of stuff. So yeah, we do data analysis based, for businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, most businesses that we work with have a couple of core systems. Think about your NetSuites, your Salesforce, or maybe they're already pumping that into some kind of database, like a relational database where they're storing things.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have these peripheral spreadsheets or like your, Workday tools, these business tools that create data as well.
Right.
So we help basically with all of that now.
So when you say Salesforce, NetSuite, Workday's HR data,
Yeah.
Salesforce is
CRM,
sales data mostly,
sales
and
data.
then NetSuite would have
NetSuite's like ERP. So
ERP.
like it's similar. You're still selling products. You're managing. You're sending out invoices and managing. Like, did people pay those invoices and all that kind of stuff.
So while we can do fantasy football data, we haven't been paid to do that yet.
Do you guys just destroy?
People don't pay for that as much,
Do you? Yeah, right. Like that's not something. Yeah.
It usually loses money actually.
Exactly. So, like, do you guys just destroy your fantasy football leagues?
I did. I played. So I did fantasy football. I made a dashboard. It's actually on Tableau Public.
Okay.
I did a fantasy football. It was like week 13, 2016 or something like that.
Okay.
And yeah, I scraped DraftKings and FanDuel, and I tried to figure it out. And I succeeded one time doing it, and it was my first time, which is very typical for gambling. So I won like $900 on the Carolina Panthers that week or something, like a Panthers stack team, and basically never won again.
Right.
Now it's like $10,000 in the hole.
Yeah. So
I don't know if that's true.
No, I quit when I was at like back down to $50 gain. I was like, all right, I'm cashing out.
All right, let's get out of here. Yeah. I can get a bunch of hamburgers with that $50.
Yeah, right.
Free hamburgers. I don't know if anything tastes better than free hamburger.
Well, chicken biscuits, I don't know.
Well, it's up to you. The beauty of the $50 is in the eye of the beholder, I guess.
It's free, man. That's all that counts.
Yeah.
You can do anything you want with that.
There's actually a lot of hard work. It was probably if you count for my time, it was not free at all.
Right, I hear you. That's funny, man. So like when I think of data, I'm like, it can be absolutely anything. And so when you guys talk data, you're talking about data in the sense where it can show up anywhere in a business. So it's like the Walmart cash register example. Like you and I have worked specifically on sales type of data, dashboards and things, so that I can look. If you've ever used Salesforce.com, and I assume a lot of people have, it's very difficult to manage that data, and it's all over the place, and you don't necessarily have access to everything you need.
Right, that's the biggest problem actually, is that Joel started the company by building dashboards for people that just needed some answer to their question.
Right.
The biggest problem is that a lot of times people don't even have access to the data that they want to analyze because it's in some system that they signed up for on the internet, which means it's in the cloud. So you can't just pull that data out from somewhere. So that's what our software does. Like our services is all around building the dashboards and deploying Tableau server, since we're a Tableau partner, right? But our software product is a data staging platform. So you take data from all these different cloud systems. We have connectors to all these things to put it into a centralized place and model it and stage it so that it can be used.
So you would take data from all those platforms that we talked about, bring them into one spot where you can manipulate that for your own answers on your own questions at any time, in any place, any part of the business.
We do that now.
But that's not how it started.
Just to take it back, though, the big problem that I saw when I started was I started with people who had data.
Right.
And they had, Tableau's great to connect to that and show you what is.
Right.
You move it around, you see what you want. But if you have a vision for a dashboard you want or how you want to analyze the business, because of the way Tableau works, because of VizQL, I mean, it's amazing at what it does, but it can't make something out of nothing.
Right.
And if you just have raw data and a vision, then you essentially have nothing, right?
Right.
So what I really worked on a lot in the beginning is helping people take raw data and do a couple things to it to make it more usable, to make it better, to make it suitable for the end result that they wanted to see or the analysis they wanted to see. So a lot of it was just basic SQL on top of sequel to stage it for Tableau.
Right. So, this what you guys are defining here as what you do has gone from one guy, or did you start the company by yourself, or was it?
I was alone for the first 4 or 5 months.
Dude, that must have had to been wild, right?
It was fun.
So you're saying it with like a Wyatt Earp side grin. I'm like, okay, well, fun in the sense that it was painful, or fun in the sense that it was lonely. I mean,
It was raw. And
yeah.
There was something crazy about it.
It takes a guy with a beard to really be able to say that and mean it, right?
When I first left and started it, I got a job selling windows door to door.
Windows, like
energy efficient windows. Like, hey, I noticed these windows are from the 80s. If you get these windows, it'll actually offset your energy bill so much that it pays for itself.
Okay.
Right? I think that was true. I never sold a single one. I also just started driving Uber.
Really?
And I ended up doing one Uber drive. Took a guy to the airport, made $50 because it was raining, so it was like a
surge hour.
Surge. And I was like, this is okay. But then the next morning, I got my first call from a Tableau rep saying, I think I got somebody who needs your help. And it turned out to be a massive insurance company.
Great.
And I did the thing that I said I was going to go out and do right there that day with them. And from that day since, I've never done anything else.
Okay, interesting. So that was how many years ago?
That was in 2015.
So only 3 years ago. And
Yeah.
so in those 3 years, from Uber Drive to the lack of window sales, you guys have gone from first deal to what are you revenuing now?
So we did a little over $1 million in Q1. So it's
in Q1.
March.
Okay.
Yeah, in 2017 we did $1 million overall. We ended the year
1.1.
with 1.1.
Yeah, let's not
ended
shave
the year
points there.
with,
Come on.
with 14-ish employees, 14 or 15. Q1 of this year, so it's May right now. So between January, February, March of 2018, we did a little over $1 million, and have hired 5 people since then. So we're now 20 full-time employees. Looking for somewhere around $4 million this year.
Awesome. So 3 years to projecting $4 million in sales, which is pretty epic, and 20 employees. Like, I've seen a lot of quick growth companies, even on this podcast, and it doesn't happen in 3 years. So, like, can you explain the explosive growth? Are there any things that happened by happenstance, or you got lucky, or
A couple of factors. I mean, I think right time, right place with the Tableau market.
Right.
Data analysis. I think also starting a services business is different than starting most other startups, because if you do it even semi-right, you can get customers and revenue right away.
Yeah, the point is, like, with a product company, right, you got to build a product that's usable and it's deployable before you can even start to make money. With a services company, you have to have people that know how to do the work, and you can immediately win a deal. So for us, that's kind of been our bread and butters. We know Tableau, we know data analytics, and we can do services for that. And as long as we can continue to do that, we can continue to make money. You know?
Right.
So
I hear a lot of consulting practices really struggle to scale, right? So you've got a few salespeople that are selling the engagements, and then you have full-time consultants, and then there's the whole idea of having like a bench. If you're not familiar with the bench in consulting, it's like people that you're paying just to be ready. It's like a lawyer on a container, right?
Right.
Or, container, is that the right word?
whatever, yeah, it's the same thing.
Retainer, yeah.
Somebody you got to pay to actually sit on the bench and not do anything.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that doesn't bode very well on a balance sheet.
You have to have money to start that kind of consultancy.
We don't do that. So
Okay, so you guys have done this differently.
We actually kind of started this to be completely different than that from the beginning. So we never want to have a bench. We don't want to build a body shop. There are plenty of body shop consultancies.
Oh, yeah.
So our whole model from the ground up is counter to that. So part of what I think has helped us get to this point is we just decided to be a 100% commission business.
Okay.
So everybody who joins is kind of a savage in that sense. They come because they look at what we do, they know they can do it, they look at the model, it's a good model, and they know that they can deliver, but because of what we've done, we can never have a bench.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be all people on a certain level.
You got to have all A players, I assume.
You have to
right?
be able
Pretty
to
much.
actually bill hours to get paid. If your customer is not willing to pay you for the hour that you spent with them, you're not going to get paid. That's
Right.
how it works. So we have it sounds kind of brutal when you say it that way.
Right.
But it's not really, because we have the right deals coming in with the right customer expectations set and all that kind of stuff. So everybody gets paid well and they're able to bill hours. But at the end of the day, you have to bill an hour on a customer project that they've already paid for in order to get paid.
Right.
And that's
Okay.
part of our business too, is like most of our customers, when they sign up with us, they prepay for a bucket of hours, and then we have consultants bill against that bucket of hours.
Okay. So the natural question off of that comes: if you don't have a bench and you're built to not have a bench, does it ever become a problem that you have there's engagements to be worked on but no one to do them?
That's always a problem. I mean, no matter what kind of model,
It's a great problem to
compensation
have
model,
from a business perspective.
for sure, and we've dealt
Right.
with that absolutely. But you know, scale is always an issue. You know, and with software, scale is the shiny thing that you're trying to get to. As soon as you can get scale, that's when you get to a lot of returns. With a services company, scale is always a tightrope.
Right.
Because you can't sell more than you can deliver, and if you don't sell enough for the number of consultants you have, they're not going to have work to do.
Right.
So you're always balancing that.
Yeah, that's it's a lot different. It's a lot different model than what I'm used to talking about, because I talk application type businesses all the time. I get a phone call. I say this probably on every podcast. I get like 2 phone calls a week of someone with an idea, and they're like, "Will this scale?" Is the question that always comes up, and I'm like, "Yeah, it's software. It'll scale. Press copy and paste, and then sell the one you pasted." It's like the warehouse is always full in software. So when you're talking about consulting, it's like, yeah, where's the bench? It's like, what happens if we do too well? Is that something you guys run into?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had a few times where
We've-
our demand was kind of surging in,
Mhm.
and our supply was low.
Right.
And all we did was kind of just start telling customers, you might have to wait a little bit.
Right.
Just
And if
build
you're
a
not
backlog.
comfortable with that, then we can introduce you. And we started making friends with other partners, and we started creating outlets. So we had
Subcontract, that happens. It hasn't happened too many times, but it has happened where we have to subcontract work.
Oh,
because we
okay.
can't take it.
I got you.
well, it's not even just that. We made relationships with other partners where it wasn't even subcontract. It was, this customer needs XYZ work. It's a little bit more geared towards staff log. It's a little bit more geared towards what you do, and we're strapped on time, and
Right.
they got to go. They got to do it now. So we would
Right.
just, a lot of times we would just straight up make these introductions and let the goodwill build up, and not even do any kind of pass through or anything like that.
Interesting.
So we try to, we got good at kind of making sure what we take on is good for us, good for the customer, and that we are good and the right ones to deliver it, and we can do it in a reasonable amount of time. Or a lot of times what we found in this space too is customers are coming to buy services now because it's top of mind, or they have budget, but they're actually not ready to go for like 3 months.
That's a
So
good
what
point.
we do is we book it, we give them a bunch of templates and instructions and recommendations for how to get ready, and then we just say your hours aren't going to expire for a year, and book it and come back when you're ready. And that actually worked really well for a lot of people. It was a different kind of flexible model that people were happy to have.
Yeah, well, it's a good point, because I've probably sold 10 deals in my life that are software deals where we sell the software because they know they want it, they have the need, the ROI is there, all the right earmarks for doing the software deal are there. But then they sit on the software for 6 months before they're ready to use it because, we forgot we had to hire somebody, and Jim's availability was about 50% of what we thought it would be, so there's no one to pull the levers. The other thing that comes to mind when you say, there's that relationship with the other partners and with the customer. Is there any like velvet rope type of? So you've been to like a nightclub or something?
Like an exclusivity?
Yes, it's like
No.
you put up the rope and it's like it'll be, wait in line.
I think we like flirted with that sort of vibe a couple times.
Right.
But it's not us.
Right.
You know, we're just more about being like, we're a 15-person shop, and we can't do this for 3 weeks.
Right.
And that works better than trying to be like, you need to book
we're not
now.
going to charge them more.
You need to book
priority,
now,
whatever.
To get in with us, because we are.
The danger with that is you start getting tempted with this like model where you want customers to pay more for priority service, and you can slip down this route of being an on-demand consultancy, which is really bad, because what we're trying to be is a transformational consultancy. We go in to solve specific problems that have material impact on their business.
Right.
So even if it's a short project, they look back and they're like, these guys are awesome. These
Right.
guys did incredible work. We're not staff aug, like Joel was saying. We're not the guys that are just going to create your standard reports every week or every month.
And staff aug is staff augmentation. It's just essentially hiring more people,
Right.
whether they're contract or full-time.
Staff aug is like, you know, you want, instead of one expert to come knock it out in 3 weeks, you want 4 intermediate skilled people in the area to come out for 6 months, because you think that's somehow going to be better for whatever the project is. And
In general,
sometimes
it's
that's
like
legitimate.
standard reporting stuff. It's never like something that's really going to change their business. It's just a temporary employee to do whatever task it is you
Right.
want. So we don't want to be that. Even though a lot of times customers are willing to pay the same amount for that, it's not a really impactful thing for customers. It's not exciting. It's not interesting. You can't recruit top talent to do that.
Right.
Right? So we don't necessarily want to do that, but we also don't want to be this kind of thing where people think they're going to pay more and get somebody on demand, because then you become an on-demand consultancy, which is just that's a totally different thing. You know,
Right.
like we want to go into companies that have a real need, and we're confident that we can solve their problem, which is generally like it's a transformational kind of thing that we're going for, and we do it well. And they will walk out of there, whether it's a week or 2 weeks or a month or 3 months or whatever that transformational period is, their business absolutely benefits from having us there.
Right.
You know, that's what we're.
We'll say the other thing that's made it work too, which is unique to this niche market that we're in, which is the modern era of business intelligence.
Okay.
Using Tableau for its speed, which is one of our founding principles, is we're going to use Tableau for its speed, which as a consultancy means you have to get comfortable operating in very short sprints if you're going to be honest with the value you can deliver, because we can deliver massive value in 5 to 10 hour sprints.
Right.
So, and a lot of times you deliver someone a great Tableau dashboard or a great piece of analytical content or something, or a roadmap for Tableau in 5 to 10 hours. And then that customer is going to look at it and play with it for a couple weeks. And they have 100 hours, let's say, open. So what do you do while you wait for them to look at it and legitimately play with it? So a lot of it, too, has been working out because the speed that you can work in Tableau in this space if you do it right. So instead of 2 customers that you work on over this long amount of time, it's like I can help 3 customers today in these really short but very impactful sprints,
Right.
and then do the same thing tomorrow, and then the next day and the next day, and then 2 weeks from now this kind of the same wave comes through with their next round of questions. So it's about this kind of rolling engagement where we do as much as we can for them right here and now, and then just we don't push for more. We just say, this 5 hours seems like it did what you needed. And they're like, yeah,
Right.
I'll call you again when I need the next one. So it's this sprint methodology too that's made it really work, to where we had, I think early on we had 3-4 people managing 50 clients
Right.
in a completely healthy way.
Yeah. So you mentioned speed as a founding principle. What are the other ones? Are there
We have a
ones?
few. So because we're a Tableau partner, one of our founding principles is help no matter what. So a lot of times people that work at Tableau that are trying to sell licenses will need technical help so that customers even confident to buy the licenses at all.
Right.
And so one of our founding principles is actually help. A lot of those customers we can turn into services customers, and because we're a Tableau partner, we get a small margin on the deal. But whether you're gonna officially get margin, and you discuss that with Tableau or not,
Right.
and whether that customer wants to buy services from you, sharing your knowledge and solving a customer problem is never wasted time, ever. So that's like a kind of a big deal for us, and a big reason why people want to work with us.
The other way to put that is, in consulting and services, I think that there's a tendency to, on the first time you're on the phone with a customer, say
Right.
you got an hour booked and you're just meeting them, I think there's a tendency to hold back a little bit of the value you can bring and the information you can give, and because
You want them to pay for it.
if you unload all the secret sauce and all the information on that first call, they may realize they don't need you.
Why would that be?
Because you just solved their problem.
'Cause you
You'd
told
be
them-
surprised, man, how many times you solve a customer's problem on the first call.
That's the thing with Tableau is a lot of times we can solve their problem right there on the first call.
And they
Or
would
say,
be willing to pay $5,000
hey.
or $10,000 to get that solved, but we can solve it on that call. And that's why I bring up that point. Is like, we know that that's true, and we don't care. We're going to solve it anyways.
That's
I mean, we
amazing.
kind of went the overboard with it, like saying, "Hey, you can do this yourself. I can give you 3 articles right now. Are you sure you want to pay for this?"
Yeah, wow. That's like crazy honest.
Well,
Dude, our customers are loyal. I mean, they love us.
I think if you run that type of strategy long enough, you get a reputation of being someone that people know that you're honest, and so it elicits honesty,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it also elicits loyalty. And you saying you have loyal customers, it's because you treated them in such a way that they haven't been treated in years, especially by this industry, right? So I love that. So always help. That's a beautiful thing, and like the loyalty there's no amount of money you can put on loyalty, because these are customers for as long as you guys are in this business and as long as they're in that business. What other core founding principles do you have?
one of them is it's similar to speed, but it's also has to do with focusing on the whole problem, but not letting the whole big problem get in the way of making progress. So it's something along the lines of bring value in very quick sprints. Go for the quick value and the quick wins, and accomplish as much as you can in these short-term increments with a whole vision in mind, with a holistic strategy. So that needs to be boiled down to one sort of sentence maybe, but that's really it, is be agile, get wins, don't let the whole big picture get in the way of making progress, but keep the big picture in mind and use it to dictate your strategy.
Okay.
So if you're really going to bullet point them, it would be help no matter what. Use the speed of Tableau as your biggest weapon, or use that as a mentality of doing things quickly. Focus on the whole problem, which reaches back into the back end, right? And then basically break down barriers of a traditional consulting engagement where you have to scope the whole thing.
Right.
Don't do that. Just start. Just start doing the first thing that adds value, right? And so because of that, we get a lot of customers that they're not really confident in everything that they're doing, but they do know that they need one thing. Right. So rather than being a Deloitte or an Accenture or somebody that comes in and does this big project, we'll say, all right, we'll take a smaller chunk of this and we'll prove ourselves during that time, and we'll use that time to learn more about your business and learn how to map out all this other stuff. But you don't have to give us $100,000 right now.
Right.
We're going to solve a problem that's evident right in front of us.
Gotcha.
You know?
That's the other thing, I guess, about our model that's unique, is we're 100% time and materials.
Okay.
Rolling time and materials. We've never done a formal statement of work in 200 plus customers.
200. Okay. Wow.
We've signed, so we do like a roadmap that looks kind of like a statement of work, so that people who are bringing us in can pitch it to everybody else. And
Right.
make
They
sure-
got to understand what they're getting
it
into.
looks like we have a plan, obviously, but at the end of the day, we don't do a formal statement of work, and we.
It looks like they have.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Joel, cool.
Well, no, that's for them. Like, we have a plan.
You have your own plan, but you have to write it down
Right.
so that
Yeah, they
corporations
need to
aren't
show
bureaucracies.
they need to show the plan to their boss and
Right.
their boss's boss to get approval. So it's like, okay, let me make the plan into a nice little thing for you.
A spreadsheet.
And I'll sign it. That's fine.
PowerPoint.
This is what we're gonna do.
Yeah, I hear you.
But at the end of the day, we've cut all the red tape that I think has slowed down the mid-market down SMB from really taking off with Tableau by getting good services is one of the reasons we started the company is it's really hard to get a good services partner in there who's going to just sign up to do a 40-hour sprint and see how it goes.
It's arduous, man, to get a consulting company in. Like most small businesses, they don't even consider having a consultant or a consulting company that's going to help them because they're like, whoa, that sounds official. That sounds expensive.
There's something about the word consulting.
Why though?
Wish there was a better word.
Because it usually is expensive.
Right.
It usually means you're gonna hire a big thing that's going to be a whole new transformational plan and all this kind of stuff. It's like, why? Right. Why can't you just hire somebody that knows what they're doing to be an augmentation of your team to solve problems? And if they learn about our business enough to where they say, okay, there's a much better way to do things that comes down to the fundamentals about how you do business, then sweet. But I don't want to sign up for that right now. I have a specific problem.
I need a taste of it first.
Yes. Exactly. So
because the word consulting just like strikes images in my mind of like 15 people in suits.
The Bobs.
The Bobs. Yeah. So if you're not familiar with the movie Office Space, right?
Yeah.
The business management.
What is it
consultants.
you would say you do here?
Well, I'm a people person.
Yeah, right.
I give the reports from these guys to these guys. That is a great movie. I'm gonna have to rewatch that now that you mention it. It's gonna be itchy.
So we're more like contractors, subject matter experts that you bring in to solve the problem, but we're also strategic advisors.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the word consultant either, but it's just the one that makes sense and everybody
the one
understands.
people know.
So
yeah.
We're giving it a good name again, I guess. We're taking it back.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really difficult for SMB and like mid-market, like we're talking about, to get their head around. Okay, so we're going to hire consultants. I can just see, like, if I get a invite on my calendar that we're going to have a consultant, then I'm like, oh man, this is going to be heavy, and I picture the guys in the suits coming in. But if you guys are delivering on what your founding principles are, then that's a whole different story. And I think that's really valuable. And it's obviously translated to the market as very valuable because you're going to bill $4 million this year with 20 employees in your first 3 years. That's
half of that
absolutely
is
epic.
Being a Tableau reseller as well.
Mm-hmm.
Just
it's all joint, right? So we get commission on selling Tableau. So most of our customers will buy our services and they buy Tableau, and then we do good services. Then they buy more Tableau, and we make money on everything in the process.
Right. It's a great model. I'm actually a pretty big fan. Hopefully I've proven that by
inviting us here.
On my podcast.
Yeah, I think we believe it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So what you got to do is you got to take me all the way back to the start, like, because you guys obviously you met each other at Tableau, and I believe that you were Joel's manager at Tableau.
Yeah, I was. So Joel had never really been in business intelligence.
And how old are you, by the way?
I'm 28.
You're 28?
At the time,
34.
I was
34.
Yeah, I was 25.
He was my junior.
Yes,
in age.
Junior, but also senior.
But my senior in
ranking. In the bureaucracy, I guess.
Awesomeness.
In time sat in the chair at a specific company.
Just
software sales. Yeah. So my first day as a manager, Joel was already hired. So I was actually told that I was going to hire my own team and all this stuff. And I start my first day as a manager, and they're like, "Hey, by the way, this guy's going to be on your team because we already offered him a job." And so whatever. So I was like,
we already offered him a job. We can't take it back. So
we couldn't take it back. So he's on my team.
So here's your guy. In walks Joel.
By law, we can't just take it right back. Even though
I mean, to me, it was really funny because it was clear that working with Joel was different. Like, everybody else is like, they want to hit their number, and it's about activities that you do or whatever. And Joel just saw everything from a different perspective, where it was just all about, like, is the customer actually getting value out of this?
Right.
Through the entire process, from their first phone call with us, pre-sale, everything, all the way post-sale. Like, it was a honestly super refreshing thing to even be around. And so, like, there was a part of me that was like, there was a couple quarters where Joel didn't hit his quota, and I was like, I don't actually really care, which is horrible to say that as a sales manager, but you know what? It's actually, to me, it was thinking about the right things. And so I was his manager for like, I don't know, a year, and I went to your team.
Right.
So we were peers for a while, right? Joel got promoted into another role. We didn't work with each other for over a year. He went to this other role, Yeah, I mean, we didn't know that we were actually going to work together at the time.
Right.
He went into this other role, was in that for a couple months,
Mm-hmm.
and then started Tableau Help while I was still selling Tableau on a different team.
Okay.
So
So when I say take me back, I'm like, let's talk. Like, tell me about like the formative years of two guys that could eventually end up where you are right now. So like, where are you from? Where are you from? Tell me about like some
start with
things
Joel.
that.
You
Go ahead.
for it first.
I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay, I like how you added a little twang in the Carolina.
I grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina. Went to UNC.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm Tar Heel. I was there for 2 championships. I got a film degree. So I started as trying to do an MBA track, and I dropped out of that because of accounting and statistics.
Mm-hmm.
2 things I hated. They were both at 8 in the morning.
Because of the time of day, or because you hated
Just
the?
all of it.
Okay.
Just everything about it.
It's hard to like something at 8 in the morning.
So I mean, I don't know how
Yeah,
people
for
feel
sure.
about statistics out there, but a lot of it is like a big circle to arrive back at an answer you wanted in the first place, and it's all manipulatable.
Yes.
That's just my perspective. Also, it was at 8 in the morning. Accounting, I don't know who invented double entry accounting. I think it was Luca Pacioli, if my memory serves me right.
Well, Dustin, can you find out who invented accounting?
Yeah, who was the father of double entry accounting, please?
This is accounting. Like goes back to the Stone Age.
Yeah, he's a
Do we
gay
not-
man named Luca Pacioli.
Are you serious about this? I don't know.
I have no ideas.
Anyway,
Luca Piccoli?
Apache.
Luca
How did you know
Pacioli.
that? Who is this?
I don't
the guy who
know.
invented double entry accounting.
Oh, double entry accounting.
Yeah.
Okay, so like
right.
ledger
Okay.
status.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not
Okay.
like Stone Tablet, but like,
Right.
hey, we're going to credit this account and debit this one, and everything balances out.
Right.
And then there's this thing called retained earnings that's just a slush to tie it all together because
Right.
we lost track of half of it.
We forgot.
Anyway, that's not how it really works. It's real. Anyway, I went from MBA track to marketing and advertising track because in high school I had been in DECA. I was the president of DECA
What's
Marketing
DECA?
Club.
A
It's a marketing club.
Okay.
Yeah, where you go around.
They have it
compete.
everywhere. Like every college has. Even my
Yeah.
college had DECA.
So I was like, okay, I think I hate business administration.
Okay.
So I'm going to go over to a slightly more creative version in marketing and advertising. Didn't like that because of the sort of manipulative aspect of it. Right? They kind of teach you how to manipulate people. And
Right.
I was like, this is not what I want. So I was like, I could take it one step more creative. And I just spent the rest of my time at UNC in film. So I got a film degree.
So like one of the things I figure out about you and just sitting here talking to you for 10 minutes is you're into honesty. Like you don't like things
Yeah.
that have like undertones of like, that's deceptive. One of your founding principles is, they all have honesty at the core of them.
Yeah.
And then you're going around statistics and you don't like statistics because they can be manipulated, right?
I like to use them as a tool now.
Mm-hmm.
I've matured a little bit, but
So
I
when
still don't.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I was just going to say you ended up studying film then. And so what did you do in film? Did you do anything with that?
I specialized in animation. So
Oh, really?
when you're talking about how did I get here, it's funny to look back because I specialized in a kind of niche kind of animation called rotoscoping, where you actually take a film and then you draw over every frame. So 30 frames a second of hand-drawn frames.
You did that.
Yeah. So
Does that just take like months?
like, have you ever seen The Waking Life or Scanner Darkly, those Linklater films?
No.
You should check them both out. So
Well,
Waking
we
Life
can pull them up on
and
the
Scanner
screen
Darkly.
here.
It's a really distinct look when you see
I'd love
it.
to see it.
Link ladder. Is that what it's called?
Richard Linklater, Waking Life, or Scanner Darkly, either one.
It's funny how you ask that and it's like, oh, you know Richard Linklater.
Yeah, and Luca
We weren't
Pacioli.
film students.
and Richard Linklater.
You've
Why
been
would I
in
know
some-
that?
Some serious knowledge here.
You know Richard Linklater. He did Boyhood recently.
Yeah, I saw that was really wild, man.
Great movie.
It was just so crazy to see the actual guy. Oh, okay. This looks like almost like.
So hit videos. Can
Just
you
do the trailer for Scanner Darkly. It's fine.
Yeah, 3 down. Yeah, just click that right there.
So this is rotoscoping, basically, where you take a film and you draw over every frame
Okay.
to give it more flavor.
It may just be my imagination.
Okay. So this is
Keanu
like,
Reeves in anime form.
So this is what it looks like, yeah. And mine was way better than this, obviously.
Right.
But yeah, so I did this. So what's funny about it is when you think about what I was doing in college for the last 2.5 years is I was spending all of my time in software. I was spending all of my time in the Adobe stack.
Right.
In After Effects and Premiere and Fireworks and all this stuff. And that...
You can kind of see their actual faces behind it.
For sure.
Well, they're there. I mean, they're literally drawing over it. They're drawing over the film.
Interesting. You can kill it, Dustin.
So anyway, I didn't realize at the time that it wasn't going to be a waste because I thought it was going to be a total waste because I basically started working for a local pizza chain and helped them start a delivery business. Opened a second location, and I stayed in Chapel Hill for an extra 2.5 years running a pizza delivery business. No, it was a family-owned, like 25-year-old spot.
Okay.
Called Sal's.
They became a chain.
And then they opened another location, and we just did delivery mainly out of that one, and we were killing it because it's a college town.
Okay. Sal's is a great name for a pizza spot, by the way.
Yeah.
Sal's.
Yeah, I get pizza from Sal's for sure.
I
that
trust
sounds like
guys.
good
Oh no,
pizza.
it's the best pizza you've ever had. I mean, seriously, they were all Sicilian, New Yorkers. They used to, do the whole thing where they bring water jugs down from New York because it's better to make pizza dough.
Everyone says that.
All
Yeah.
that.
Right.
A Home Slice in Austin says that they get their water from New York and that's what makes the dough better.
Yeah.
Right. Is that true?
It's true.
I would say that I don't buy it, but I literally actually
it's
do buy
true.
their pizza. So
They
I'm
had
from
other
Chicago.
secrets too. Like they would take when they made the sauce and they would put it in a blender and they would put like 2 anchovies in the whole batch of sauce, but somehow that made the whole thing like incredible. I don't know why.
Interesting.
Weird stuff.
So like I'm from Chicago, and there's places that like we bring the water from Chicago and we make deep dish pizza out of it. And I'm like, I'll go and try it, and it's not good. It's not like it is at home, right? Like I don't say home anymore because I'm all about Texas now. But Chicago pizza is still my favorite. But then when people try to mimic it, it's just never the real thing, right? But I have been to a couple spots here where they make New York style, and I've been to New York enough to know. Like kind of
this
that.
is Home Slice.
brand.
Home Slice supposedly has the most New York style pizza.
Home Slice, where's that at?
It's on South Congress.
Okay.
So anyways,
I've
so
never
you-
been there.
Anyway,
So
I'm not a
you-
pizza
yeah.
snob. I grew up eating CC's
So you
before that.
did this
so.
pizza thing.
I'm a big Little Caesars guy.
Yeah, me too. I like to, the grease, if it drips is off,
Drips
No.
his off.
then I likes it. You know what I'm saying?
I love Little Caesars for the fact that they'll give you like a gallon of marinara sauce
Yeah.
with your pizza that only costs $5. So I feel like I'm getting like
More marinara sauce.
Value.
Yeah.
quite frankly, that's big time value to me.
Hey, I get it.
Big time value.
So you're doing the pizza joints, and then you go from there, and
So anyway, what happened is I ended up in the restaurant industry for 12 years.
12 years.
Yeah. So I got really good at, being a good part of a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
I was waiting tables. I was managing. I just became like, this kind of like head waiter manager role, and I moved from restaurant to restaurant for like 3 to 5 years at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Moved back to Charlotte. I was in this really great place where it was like this killer A squad of waiters, and we were just crushing it, at this restaurant. And then I started getting really into wine at that time at 25. So by 28, I was essentially a level 2 somm, and I moved to Austin.
What's a somm?
Sommelier.
Sommelier. So that's a term I've heard. Is that like a wine expert?
It's a
Yeah.
wine ninja.
So it's in between like a,
It's like you can taste it and just know where it's from.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's like a hierarchy there. And
Right, so
is there
there's-
something above that?
There's like level 1, level 2, and then master somm.
Somm.
But they're all
Sommelier.
sommeliers. What number one?
Now
number two?
so now you need to watch the movie Somm.
Yeah, but I don't really care about wine that much.
I don't either. But
Or-
I
or
did.
movies, really.
But I did. Well, I love movies.
Well, I love wine too. I loved wine. I got a job in downtown Charlotte at an Italian restaurant with a huge wine list, and I was really great with it. And I got really into it because the owner was really into. She was a level 2,
Okay.
studying to be a level 3. She took me under her wing, so I learned everything. Then I moved to Austin because I wanted to get into tech.
Okay.
A buddy of mine and I had an idea for an app for waiters.
Okay.
And we thought it was so good, and our PowerPoints were so good that we were going to move to a tech city and just start this app and kill it, right?
Okay.
So we sold everything we had, except what would fit in my Honda Civic, We sold our motorcycles, which was very sad. And we drove west because we heard that Seattle and San Diego were kind of the places to go. And
For tech?
For tech, to start an app.
Okay.
And Austin was on the way, so we stopped here in Austin, down in Austin.
So wait, you were driving from North Carolina to get to San Diego, and you just like stopped in Austin?
Yeah.
Are you sure you didn't mean San Francisco? 'Cause I feel like that would be a better tech.
In theory, maybe.
Either way, it's the right direction.
Yeah.
So you had a pit stop.
Well, we were
in
going to go to
Austin.
San Diego because we heard it was like, you know, San
Great for
Francisco is
apps in
crowded.
particular.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, but San Diego, you could still get in.
Okay.
And then Seattle, we had a place to stay.
Mm-hmm.
So that was another option too. But we stopped in Austin because it was on the way. And, you know, we just decided we're going to get a hotel for 3 days and drive around, see what we think. And if we see a place we want to get and we can get it, then we'll stick around here for a while. So
Well,
that was in 2012 in August. And we found a place on West Campus driving by. It was an old dude and he was painting his house. And he had a for rent sign, and we got out and talked to him, and he rented us the house on the spot.
really?
Yeah, so we've been here since 2012.
And I had never heard of that app before, so I'm assuming...
It's called Waiter to Waiter.
Is it still
I
live?
have lots of t-shirts and wine keys if you were interested in some swag.
I am, because that seems like a Joel Stellner relic.
Memorabilia.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got lots of that. That was the first big business failure mistake.
Right.
I kind of learned a big lesson there. Don't buy a bunch of swag until you have an actual application.
Yeah, that's one of Mark Cuban's things that he always says. He's like, don't waste money on swag. So were you just gonna like give these T-shirts to waiters, and that was gonna?
Yeah, our goal was when we had the minimum viable product or whatever, we didn't even know that word at the time.
Right.
Once we had something working, we were going to go out and give this to get people interested in signing up on the street and stuff. So there was a good plan behind it, I guess, but the problem was neither of us could code.
Right.
So we were shopping around a PowerPoint trying to find someone technical enough to help us with the idea. Wasn't going to work. So I was back in restaurants in Austin. I actually ended up running a 4-diamond restaurant with a 200 wine cellar, and I was the maitre d' and sommelier. I ran the wine program and did that for a year, 2 years.
Okay.
And I just it was great. It was an 8-table restaurant, pre-fee, $200 a head. So it was kind of like the pinnacle experience I felt like I could have in the restaurant industry. I was like, I've kind of, I can go anywhere I want from here in restaurants. This is a resume maker. I can go anywhere I want.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out I don't want to. I still want to do tech.
Right.
I still want to do...
You had to itch that original...
Yeah, I still want to do something that's like super impactful in a big way for lots of people.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be able to... Yeah, I want to be able to apply my ideas in tech. And so... I just happened at the time to find Tableau, and they were doing a cattle call interview, and I went to it. It was like a 100-person in the Austin office type of move them through 10 stages. You got to sell the pin.
Did you really?
Yeah, I had to sell a pin to Michael Carson. Do you remember Michael Carson?
I know Mike Carson.
I had to sell a pin to Mike Carson at
Yeah,
Tableau.
he's a great guy.
And then, within a couple weeks, I was sitting there on Kyle's team with no idea what to do.
So if you do that again, like, what do you say when someone asks you to
Can I have your pen?
Yes.
Do you need a pen?
Well, no.
Can I see that pen?
Yeah.
Now you need a pen.
Do you need a pen? Can I see that pen?
Find somebody that needs a pen.
Yeah, that's funny because that's one of those things that like salespeople love to do. It's like there's always a new answer to that. It's like you better have something ready for when someone asks you to sell the pen kind of thing.
Yeah.
And if you go to a conference of like every tech company has a conference, go around the conference and ask people to sell you the pen, and you'll hear some gold.
Yeah.
You'll hear some funny stuff. So let's take you to Tableau, and that's where your story. We'll park it there for a second. And then where do you come from?
So I was born in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Moved to So I grew up in Seattle, in the Seattle area. But I was actually born in Albuquerque. I was like 6 years old when my family moved to the Seattle area. Grew up there. Went to college in Seattle, and my first real entry into business was when I sold books. So I did a job where I sold dictionary style books door to door, and I went to a really expensive college. It was Seattle Pacific University. It's like $40,000 a year to go there.
Good night.
Yeah, it's dumb. dumb college kid. So yeah, I needed to make money for college, and there was a recruiter at a little thing there at an event for kids to get summer internships, and there was this one that sold these homework help study guide dictionary style books door to door, and they said you could make $9,000 in a summer or more.
Right.
I knew it was probably not 100% accurate that everybody makes $9,000.
Right.
I knew that even going into it as a dumb 18-year-old.
Yeah.
Did you know what a pyramid scheme was yet?
No. I mean, it's not like I knew there was something like I needed money to pay for college.
Right.
And I was honestly a little bit desperate. So I signed up for it. In fact, me and my roommate did it. My roommate convinced me to do it. But I needed something, so we did it. Ended up being decent at it. So I actually did that for 3 summers. So I did my first summer, made some decent money, came back, recruited a team. My most that I made in a summer was $22,000.
So it wasn't a lie.
Most people it was a lie.
Wait.
But for you it was.
I don't remember that part.
Yeah, so I ended up actually making some decent money. So I could,
What's the margin on an encyclopedia book?
Dude, I actually have no idea.
Because they sell like a bunch of encyclopedias. Is it like $10,000 for those?
No, so for our they called it the volume library. It was the Southwestern program, which is still around. They call it the Southwestern Advantage now.
Yeah.
So at the time, it was around $500 for the whole set.
Oh, okay, that's not
of the main books. But then they have younger kids' educational books and all kinds of stuff. So if you sold everything that you could sell, they call it dropping the bag, because you literally had a bag that was like a backpack / messenger bag that you bring around that has all your demo books. So when you drop the bag, you sell everything you can sell. And that was about $1,500 probably. And you make maybe $700 off of that. So it's around, you don't quote me on this, but it's around 50-60% commission that you make off of it. But it's a commission-only job. And it's, teaches you kind of the fundamentals of sales, I guess how to run your own business. And as much as I look back and I hate that job, it really did teach me.
Dude, that'll cut your teeth for sure.
Yeah, I don't recommend it to everybody, but if you are up for it, man, you are gonna learn.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then I did it for three years. Junior year, decided I want to do something else. Met a guy that was older than me, so I was 21, I think, when I met him, and he was 26. Okay. He had worked at Google in their AdWords division, so he knew a little bit about search engine optimization, about how to get things onto.
And it's a different game at this time too. So this would have been 7-8 years ago.
Yeah, so that was 2011, 2010.
Okay, so 7-8 years ago.
Yeah, 7-8 years ago. Yeah. Right. I'm just trying to think back, when I graduated.
Yeah, I was like, is my math on?
No, yeah. He was at the time doing a business where he was search engine optimization, but he sold it to local businesses to help them get their search results higher on Google, and he wasn't really doing very well. But I was very hungry to do something different than selling books door to door, and this guy was like the only guy that I met that had a business that actually had any customers at all.
Right.
And I was curious about it, and I was interested, so I decided to just start working with him kind of for free, which is basically what I did with Joel at first. Actually,
right,
like I'm interested in what you're doing.
You proved the model there.
I'm going to figure out how to make it work, and it didn't work. Basically, SEO was not our thing. So we had a customer that called us after I had been working with him for like a month. A Speed Sport Auto in Portland, Oregon.
Okay,
it was a car dealership, and the guy called to cancel his SEO service, and we asked him why he wanted to cancel, and he was basically like, you know what, it's just not worth it because most of my leads come from Craigslist. So I'd rather post ads on Craigslist than pay for search engine optimization.
Right.
But my problem is that I have way too many cars in my inventory to ever post on Craigslist, because Craigslist has security stuff where you can't post more than 30 cars a day. And
In
even if you
comes Kyle
create
with a
another
VPN, right?
yeah, so even if you create another Craigslist account, you still can't really post more because they look at your IP address.
Right.
And then if you get around the IP address thing, then they're going to look at the content of the ads, and if the content is too similar, they get ghosted as well. They get flagged, right? So we're like, well, actually, we probably could make a business just about getting around these Craigslist filters. So there's a bunch of businesses that do that now. At the time, there was really only one other business that did that in Seattle. But we specifically marketed to car dealerships because they were one of the only people that had a lot of inventory that they wanted to post every day. So,
and you could get the call, right? You could get that sales call.
Well, I actually, in order to get the sale, I would actually drive to the dealership and say, hey, you got this many cars on your lot. I know you can get leads from Craigslist. We'd sign them up for the service for free for a while.
Right.
And we use something called Call 8, which is still a company that's based in Seattle that has phone numbers that reroutes it. So you call this number and it will reroute it to whatever number you want.
Right.
So you can have a bunch of different phone numbers on your ads, and then you can have a message in between. It says, if they call this number for this thing, when the dealership gets the call, they get a call that says, another call from Red Cloud Advertising. That's what we called it. The business was called Red Cloud Advertising. And so I would go around and get people set up on trials to start posting their cars onto Craigslist. And if I got them to agree to it, I would call their inventory management company. So I'd ask them who their inventory management company was, get the feed of all of the cars that they have on their lot with the pictures and the descriptions or whatever. We'd create Craigslist ads in the software and post them onto Craigslist with this Call 8 number, and we'd post like their entire inventory 2 or 3 times a day until they got enough phone calls where they're like, we're never canceling Red Cloud Advertising ever. So that business did well up until...
How well, can you say?
Yeah, at our highest we were doing about $50,000 a month in revenue.
Good night.
Which was, dude, I thought I was going to be a billionaire. Like, I was in college, right? I was 21 years old.
You had just slogged it out for 3 years selling books,
Yeah. So I thought this was going to be a real thing. The problem is that
100 years you could have been.
No, it was never going to work. It was never going to work, and the reason is because Craigslist didn't want us there.
Right.
Yeah. So it's against their terms of service to do that.
And they'll figure it out eventually.
And they did. They did figure it out, and they basically shut us down overnight.
Right.
So there's some mistakes that we made along the process that allowed them to figure out who we were.
Got a little greedy.
Because we had leased thousands of IP addresses, and we had created hundreds and hundreds of Craigslist accounts.
Right.
And they just figured out all of our IP. You're actually laughing. I was 21. Let's just remember that.
This is right before you went to prison, right?
No.
Yeah, I feel like this ends in a...
Whatever. Yeah. So we got shut down. The bottom line is we got shut down by Craigslist. Didn't work. And I was just graduating by the time we actually finally got shut down, because we did that business for 1.5 years, so all the way through my junior year and my senior year up until right about when I was about to graduate. And the whole thing tanked, and then I was graduating within the next 2 months. And
but you had a load of cash in your pocket from doing this all this time, right?
Not really, man.
Blew it all.
What do you do with $50,000 a month when you're 21?
I didn't blow it. I knew I didn't blow it, but I tried a lot of different things that didn't work. So
you tried to diversify it and it got sticky.
Well, we hired employees, so we had 4 full-time employees that it just didn't pan out. So we wasted a lot of money on that
Gotcha.
stuff.
Did you finish college debt free, or did any of that go
Not completely
into
debt free, but almost completely debt free. I had $10,000 maybe that I had to pay.
Wow, so that worked out
160.
awesome.
Yeah, so
because kids come out of college all the time and they're saddled with 120, 100. In your case, would have been like 170 if I'm
something like that. And I had paid most of it off, so
Good for
I
you,
had a
man.
little bit. Yeah, so that it's not all bad.
No, it's great. It's good. Maybe who you are.
Yeah, and then basically I had a couple months of not working right after college, and I was living in a house that had 8 people in it at the time, actually, and I was renting a room in this really big house. One of the other girls that lived in that house was a sales rep at Tableau, and she was saying good things about it, and got me an interview, and I got the job. So then I started entry level at Tableau, moved my way up, became a manager, got promoted.
How long were you at Tableau before they made you manager?
1.5 years.
Okay.
Which is, for me...
It was like 3.
No, maybe 2 years. Yeah, 2 years probably.
They told me you were a veteran when they put me on your team.
Well, at the time, everybody was a veteran. If you'd been there longer than 6 months, the company was exploding, right? So it was like everybody was new.
What employee were you, like number-wise? Do you know?
200-ish.
200? Because I remember I was like 1,200.
Yeah.
And so, and also in a whole new city too. So like that office opened.
Yeah, I started at the headquarters.
Right. And then they sent you down to Austin, and then that's where you two team up for the first time. So, real quick, take me through like the time when you were like, you guys can both answer this. So it's like you're working together. You obviously you see Joel, and you're like, I'd rather you do things right than make your quotas. Essentially, with the
kind of
was.
Yeah.
And so that breeds these founding principles that we talk about. So you had that commonality, and then Joel goes savage and goes and starts his own company, and that takes a ton of guts. So like, tell me about when you were just like, I'm done with this, I'm gonna do this. Because that's a big time risk. Because Tableau's not a small shop. We're sitting on equity. A lot of like the industry term is golden handcuff. Like you left a lot of security and safeness to go take it on.
So what happened was, I started at Tableau and was legitimately embarrassed for the first time in a long time because I was so good in restaurants.
Okay.
I was on the point where I could be like Gordon Ramsay of the front of the house and go in and solve any restaurant's problems. I was, I could manage any restaurant situation.
Mm-hmm.
I was a fixer. Started Tableau my first week, and I didn't know how to use the phone to dial out. I had to have someone set up my.
Yeah, you just press 9, man. It's not that hard.
But if there's no post-it
no one told
there,
me that,
right?
So I pressed all the buttons to figure that. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
And
no, you were clueless, man.
Someone had to set up my email.
Dude,
right?
yeah, he didn't even know how to use email.
Someone had to set up my Outlook.
I
mean, I'd been on my feet for 12 years.
You were starting from scratch.
Yeah.
So you must have been pretty compelling on the interview.
And then, I mean, shout out to Daisy DePaulis giving me a shot, basically.
She was the director
on a hunch.
Yeah.
When I told her, I was like, I don't know anything.
Right.
Except that I work harder than anybody I know. And she was like, all right.
I could vouch for that. That was one of the things that I just saw in Joel was just like, he's focused on the customer problem, which is really good. But I mean, more than anything, he just actually worked his butt off.
Yeah. So one of the funny stories of Kyle and I is we actually hung out before we knew he was going to be my manager at like a Christmas party, and we hung out, and it was like a Christmas party, so we were drinking and just like celebration, and then when he saw me, like, this is the guy on your team, and I saw him, we were like, oh.
Uh-oh.
Like,
stop having fun.
Yeah, that was funny, man. When I didn't know that I was going to be your manager.
Yeah, he had no idea. And I had no idea. And we were both just like, oh.
This is how it was, yes.
So anyway, we both quickly kind of nipped it. And I sat down and I was like, look, I don't care that I'm technically way older than you and probably smarter and better at everything. You're my boss and I want to do what you say. So what's your... what do you want to tell me? Anything you tell me, I'll do it. And he said, like, the worst thing possible, which was show up every day at 6 a.m. and leave at 9 p.m. And I was like, all right.
Yeah, at the time.
Okay.
And I just did.
I was trying to be a good manager, but yeah, he actually did.
Wow.
Which is, I mean, I look back on that and I'm like, that was the advice that you did. Like, it's so stupid.
No, it worked.
But he actually did it.
So anyway, what happened at Tableau was I started and I was embarrassed and out of my element to the point where I was very angry about it, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
So
you can only be embarrassed so long.
Right.
Right.
So my reaction was
to
push myself through the ringer of certifications to the point where I pushed well beyond what you consider certified, even for ProServe at Tableau. And I started...
ProServe is professional services. It's the consultants for that company. Yeah.
Consultants at Tableau. Anyway, so I pushed myself out of just, I'm going to prove myself in the product. And with all the time I was spending there, because I was there first and left last every day for a year, I reached a point in about 6 months where I was I was tapping into Tableau's internal data and making dashboards for sales team that no one had done before. And I was doing consulting for all my clients on the side for free, like not charging them, but doing it to advance their sales decision or their buying decision. And by the time I moved, I was one of the first reps to get promoted from SMB acquisition to SMB existing business without hitting their quota. Because I had done really wild things where I had engaged all the partners in the region, and I invented a round robin system where I would take all the leads and I made dashboards of all the companies that had hit the CRM, and I sent it out to all of them, and I was like, whoever claims companies first is going to be the partner I tag, and you can go after it. And like people, I mean, there was some cool energy going on, cool stuff. And anyway, by existing business time, I had already realized that the consulting I was doing, the building I was doing for customers during sales cycles, and the stuff I was doing internal to Tableau was extremely valuable.
Right.
It was beyond what, you know, partners were charging for that I saw. And so I started kind of talking about some kind of idea about doing my own thing, doing our own thing around that 1 year mark. And then I spent 6 months in EB, existing business, Tableau. And I just started EB, fresh start, and I started applying the principles that I had in mind for Tableau Help from day one. And I was just crushing quota and just having loyal customer after loyal customer, and I was on the road a lot. And it was 6 months into existing business when the dashboards I had made for Tableau's sales teams, I was starting to get requests to maintain them and advance them and explain them from internal Tableau forces. And I was like, okay, if I'm consulting to Tableau in Tableau, maybe it's time.
Right.
So that's when I said, I'm out.
That's pretty wild. So how long did that from hire date to finish date was it?
A year and a half.
A year and a half.
He's learning how to use email on his first day.
He's
teaching that company how to use their own product a year and a half later. That is crazy, man.
That is insane.
That's one of the reasons that I was like, this is something different. You know, I left the job that we had together, which is almost as high as you can get in sales. That is a six-figure salary. And
Don't say how much I make on the internet.
You know, whatever. It's like, dude, that was my dream, was to be in the job that we had together.
Right.
You know, like that was the thing that I had worked for or whatever. And like,
it's not an easy track either.
It's not an easy track, and there was just something different about the way that Joel just approaches problems. That there is like, this is something that I know that people want. If we can teach people how to do this, they will buy it. And yeah.
And it's powerful, man, because it's, like I said, and I mean this when I say it, is that you can only be embarrassed for so long, and that will elicit one of two responses from people. It's either, to use your term, get savage and get highly competent, so competent to the fact where, like, I cannot be held here anymore because I'm too valuable. And anyone with a brain will start to figure that out as they get there. Or the other response is, I'm getting embarrassed every day. I have to quit. And you see that so often. So that's why, like, when you have that story and you're involved with it, and I've known you for a long time, and I had similar thought processes with you when we were working together. It's like, this guy's a beast. Like, this is going to go just great for Kyle long term. And so to see you guys tagging up together, I was like, this is either going to go really
well or really bad.
Really bad.
I thought the
really
same thing,
great.
man. Yeah, no, I was on the same page.
Well, you know, Kyle as a manager, when I started out, you know, I probably wouldn't be here if it hadn't been for having him as a manager, because, you know, I could see the passion and emotion that he had just wanting to be successful, and the frustration he had with people who didn't think that way, and the, you know, just the confidence that he had in me and our ability to talk and handle the business together, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, we were friends, yes, but when we were at work, he wanted to handle business, and that's all we would talk about at work. Mm-hmm. and I don't think that that's a super common experience as someone who comes into a completely new, strange territory and is embarrassed. And it's pretty easy for a manager to ignore a person like that and not push them, not empower them, and then that's why they quit. And I'm not a person who never quits.
Mm-hmm.
I just think I was lucky at the right time, right place with Tableau to harness and channel that. I had the right environment to get savage.
Yeah. So you said something that I thought was pretty cool, and it was you were in the role, you felt like you were being embarrassed, and then it made you angry. And so you can do a couple things with that anger too, and it's what leads into these two different directions. And so what would you say to, because I guarantee you there's a guy watching this podcast right now and he's sitting in a situation where maybe he knows how to use email and to press 9, but it's not going great. Like, what do you tell that guy if you feel like he's being embarrassed on a day in, day out basis?
There's only one way out. Time input.
Time input.
Effort. I was there every day before everybody else, and I left way after everybody else. And I was there on Saturdays and Sundays.
Were you really?
Yeah. I was lucky that my now fiance, girlfriend at the time, stuck with me because I was in the office pretty much as I could handle it being awake.
It's funny that you say you're somebody that never quits, but you're also in the office on Saturday and Sunday. It's like, yeah, it's just very ironic to me. Like,
I don't understand the irony there.
Yeah, explain yourself.
Oh, well, I would say this. I would say the people that I've managed a lot of, not a lot, but, a decent amount of people.
Right. More than most people
The people that quit are not there on Saturday and Sunday.
Right.
So it's just funny to say, yeah, I would totally quit if the situation were right or whatever, but you're not going to allow yourself to quit like you're putting in the actual time that it takes to be successful. So why would you quit? Because you put in the time to be successful.
So tying it back together, part of this honestly comes from flashback to when I was doing that rotoscoping at UNC. The reason I didn't pursue a film career is because I saw my other friends in film school going and getting jobs as grips and holding boom mics and being a camera dude, and none of it was cool. It wasn't creative. They just took careers in what could be a creative industry that depressed me.
Right. Well, I got a thing here that holds the mic.
Right. This is where we've come.
And this
this would normally be a dude. A sweaty dude that you have to pay.
Well, and this thing was like $8 or $9 on Amazon, so...
Yeah, God bless Amazon, right?
Right.
So, anyway, part of this story that should be mentioned is when I sat down with the Tableau software for the first time, before I even interviewed, when they told me to do a trial and prepare for my interview, and I started using it, it clicked on a whole nother level.
Right.
Because I'm good at software, because I did that so deeply in school.
Right.
That I'm good at creative software, but all of a sudden the missing link was there, and it's that now I can use this creative software platform, but it can make people money.
Yeah.
And it can make them money fast. It can give people insights.
Because
I'm probably not going to pop out a super great film that's going to change the world. It's going to be garbage. But I can take my creativity and make, I can be an analyst. I can do incredible things for businesses with visual, data, creative dashboarding platforms all of a sudden. That was part of it. That was a factor in there that drove me to be there every day, because it was this newfound outlet for all of that, what would have been wasted software, creativity stuff.
So you guys certainly have found a niche. Like, you found the thing I think you're tailor-made for, and you're doing it amazingly and really young comparatively. So I've always seen you as the kid. Because I used to be the kid, for the record.
Well, and the average age. You were the next youngest person besides me on our team.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there was they're mid-40s at the youngest besides us. So,
yeah. And then
I felt like a kid.
And so, and 34 to be running a $4 million a year consulting business is epic. So, Yeah, knock on. This is actually not wood. This is one of those.
Whatever, just pretend.
This is fake wood, so you're gonna need to find wood on the way home. But yeah, it's awesome. So this brings us to current day, which is TableauHelp.com changing to Zwar, Zuar, and Zwar is the brand that creates new software offerings. Correct?
Well, Swar is the parent company that owns Tableau Help.
Okay.
And will actually own everything. And there's a few reasons for that. A big reason is because Joel started Tableau Help almost with an ironic tone, because that's what it does. It's what he did, right? He got his first customers by helping other sales reps that he knew with their sales cycles and helping those customers solve problems.
Right.
And then those customers wanted to pay him money to continue helping them.
Right.
So it was Tableau Help. And when it was just him, it wasn't a big deal. And now that it's grown to 20 people and we're a gold level reseller, like one of not very many in the world.
How many? Like 5, 4?
No,
10,
20,
maybe 20. I don't know.
Well, worldwide.
Yeah,
I guess that opens it up.
There's gotta be a lot.
Yeah, I mean, overall, there's not that many, though. Tableau is a publicly traded company, and we're on the short list of whatever. You can't be called Tableau Help. It's kind of, in a way, unfair to other partners. In another way, it's a big trademark and branding issue, right? So we can't do that anymore. So we had to have something else. And we don't want to wait for Tableau to shut us down and really make
You
a
don't
deal
want to
of
get that same email you get when you're posting Craigslist ads
Yeah,
that says cease and
you don't want that
desist, right?
stuff. Exactly, yeah. So
We want to be good citizens, legitimately.
Right. We actually just want to be good partners. And
Okay, so you're doing this on your own,
correct.
Yeah.
knowing that it's the
Knowing
right
that if we don't, why you can see a path towards a problem, don't go down the path. Don't keep going down the path. Just like give yourself another option. So that's what we're doing. But also partly it's because our business is expanding beyond just Tableau.
Right.
A lot of what we do is now in the back end. In fact, our product, which is really, I think, the future of our company, has to do with everything before Tableau.
Right.
So
data preparation.
it's data staging. So staging data for analytics. You get data from a bunch of different places. It needs to be prepared and staged so that it can be used. So that's really what it is.
You bring up Zwar.com.
Zuar. Yeah, where did the name Swar come? Because
So this is another part of the story we left out, but in 2006 I started buying domain names.
okay.
And it unfortunately went well in the beginning, so I got hooked on it with my dad, and we owned 1,500 domain names.
Scroll down just a little bit, like right below the video. Yeah,
That's
right
Mitto.
there.
Anyway, Swar came from our current,
Nice flash.
Oh yeah,
the
that's
guy-
Joel's animation degree coming into play.
That
here.
was Greg. That was our creative director over here. Greg made that.
Nice.
But so Zwar came from, it's a really deep story actually. So we own 1,500 domains, and our now CTO, who was doing basically co-development of this with us as Tableau Help and him on his own, now we're all under one roof, Zwar. We were all hanging out in Austin, and we were looking at a list of all 1,500 domains to see if any of them clicked for us, and we wanted to do it. And we laughed and liked a bunch through the list, and then the very last one on the list was Swar.com.
Well, it's the Z. Was it an alphabetized list?
The alphabetized list.
All right.
And so we were like, that's it.
Done and done.
Basically, it's I love it. The reason I love it is because it's meaningless.
Yeah.
Literally, it's meaningless.
Right.
So it has no meaning
But it's
in
phonetically
any language.
correct.
But it's somewhat phonetically pronounceable, right? It's not like really clear. But the point is that
I think there was like one cool dude in the Bible named Zwar, but
maybe
he was just like a chill dude. He didn't really do anything crazy.
There's an enemy in a video game I used to play, the Elder Scrolls series.
Yes.
When there's a bad guy, he's a raptor looking type creature, and he's called a Zwar.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Huh.
You might want to look that up.
Was he like a good raptor?
No, he's bad.
So he shreds people's problems?
Wow.
In theory, yeah. Yeah. And it like that particular creature glitches all the time, so like 95 of them will show up. It's really funny. You'll have to check that out.
Is this Elder Scrolls like Morrowind? Or is
This would be Elder Scrolls 3, I believe.
Nice.
So
All right, check it out.
The one on the original Xbox is the one it is. So yeah, that's awesome. You guys have, and so do you feel like Zwar was going outside of your high competency in Tableau consulting to create an actual software product, because that's a monumental task?
It was really, where are we going to set the ceiling?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, I think it's more a personal thing, just honestly, for me personally, and I think that Joel feels the same way, is set the bar high.
Yeah.
Also, I think one thing we started to accept is that we don't really have a competency that we need to stick to.
Right.
We can do things with a general set of business principles, how you run a business,
Mm-hmm.
which is basically, I think one of the secrets to running a startup is just make more money than you spend.
True.
If you can stick to that, you're probably going to survive. And then the second is just kind of a core list of how you communicate and treat your customers.
I love it.
And if you can do those things well, you can branch out without overextending.
It's a beautiful story, right? I think so. It's good enough to record and put on the internet and put our names on, I think. So what's next for Swar and Tableau Help?
We're going to start a podcast.
We're going to compete with this.
It's going to be called Consumed.
Well, that'll SEO much better than I could say. Yeah, so that's funny because I was talking with a guy this week, and I wouldn't call him a mentor, but it's like someone I admire who is occasionally willing to throw me a breadcrumb of wisdom. And he's like, there's 10 million podcasts out there. What are you doing? And I was like, well, that's why we're the Unconsumed podcast, because why would you find this podcast? It has to be exactly what you're looking for on Google for you to ever find it. But that being said, people find it every day, and the last episode did 5 times better than the first one, and we hope to grow it because these stories are compelling enough and they're specific enough where people can be sitting at home and say, when I was Joel at 30 years old or when I was Kyle at 25 years old, I identify with that, and I can pull out a tactical thing that those guys did, and now look at them now. It's the validation that it can be done, right? And so that's the story I try to tell over and over. So what's next? I'm interested. I'm going to stay tuned. And then I've been waiting to ask this all night. So you had the film degree, and like one of my goals in life, and this will be one of those things that also I don't assume anyone will watch, but I want to make a documentary, and I don't even know what about. So have you made?
So we should make a documentary about wanting to make a documentary.
That was done. It was called The American Filmmaker or something like that. What's that movie where
I haven't heard of it, so we should redo it.
We should totally redo
Yeah,
it.
and obviously just do that.
Yeah,
He wants to make a horror
If I haven't
movie.
heard of it, then that means there's a gap in the market.
Well, if you knew the guy that created double input accounting,
Yeah.
then yeah, you should know his name.
Yeah.
Are you pulling that up?
Trying to.
All right.
Well, look, I can make a documentary anytime you want. You just follow people around with the camera, and then you edit it together. It's real simple.
It's funny that you say that because actually when we first started doing this together, Joel was like, we should make a documentary about what it's like to start a business.
That way, if it fails, we
It's
have
still,
something
you have an exit
more
plan.
compelling and successful.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, the story of failure is like a way undertold story.
I
what
do
people want.
super agree.
Right.
Yeah. And it's the most
Success is kind of boring.
relatable. I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
that's...
The success stories get blown up too hard, and that's one of the other like ancillary pieces of this podcast. I don't want to hear Jeff Bezos' story anymore, as much as I think he's the best. Right.
The Defiant Ones.
Right.
Did you see that?
I have heard of it.
If you like documentaries, you need to go watch The Defiant Ones immediately.
What's it on? What's the outlet?
It's Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre. It's on HBO.
Jimmy Iovine. Bruce Springsteen's my favorite.
Best documentary I've seen in years. Many
Okay.
years. It's
I
amazing.
have that on my to-watch list, but I got 3 kids and they're 2 and under, so my time.
It wouldn't be that
They don't listen to
interested in that?
NWA. You don't. You don't play NWA for them every night.
No. But it's a documentary, right? So I can just I can find time to do it.
Well, yeah.
Okay, so perfect. Anything else you guys want to leave and kind of dovetail the story on?
You know what?
We'll save it for next time.
Yeah,
man.
save it for next time. I'm just
Yeah.
excited to see what's next. Just as excited as you are, man. So, yeah,
Awesome.
save it for next time.
All right, guys. Thanks for coming on. We will have this up in a little while. Appreciate you coming on. We'll talk soon.